The video game industry is so interesting to me because it's got to be one of the only industries where you have massive corporations with thousands of employees competing against other massive corporations with thousands of employees, and those guys are also competing against a bunch of guys in their basement making shit. Nobody would expect Guy in Basement to even stand a chance against massive studios. But Guy in Basement team putting out some real heat lately. And Massive Corporation side, despite all their advantages, getting a little bit stinky up in there. They've tried to serve a little bit of slop under the table, hoping we wouldn't notice. I think they could trick us with their fancy marketing.
16 times the detail.
Guy in Basement, no marketing, no money, no support from his family. That guy's got nothing to lose. And a guy like that, you know, he's gonna cook up some crazy shit. Whether it's a game or a novel or a series of explosive packages made in a remote cabin in Montana. What I'm trying to say is, if you want to go after the big dogs and all their resources they have available, well then you have to identify what you can bring to the table that they can. And one thing I think indie devs are excellent at is creating new types of gameplay experiences we haven't previously seen before. They're not afraid to get weird. There's no executives worried about ramifications. You have all the creative control. You have all the decision-making power. You have a perfect cabin in the most beautiful section of woods in Montana. You're an excellent mathematician, but the CIA did this whole experiment on you when you were at Harvard and it became this big thing. And what I mean by all this is, being an indie, there's no one here to tell me not to make this bomb. This game. It was Unabomber jokes before I'm making a game. Although it probably wouldn't fill the CIA with delight if I had to ask them how they felt about it. Now, you might be thinking, that's it? That's your industry-shattering idea? Just play as Kim Jong-un? That's some garbage you would make for YouTube, with the actual game being a soulless mess with no depth or substance to it of any kind besides, haha, silly overweight dictator, look at him bounce. I mean, do you have any idea at all for systems, or gameplay, or narrative, or engaging mechanics in which you can... I'm gonna stop you right there, pal. First off, fucking relax. What, do you live in my head or something? And second, I'll admit it. I'm not scared. The game did start off as a shitpost for YouTube, but somewhere along the way, I fell in love with the damn thing. Like, at first it was just fun to create a goofy little Kim Jong-un I could bring to life, my own little oon. Just a little oon, all to myself. That's silly. And I set up a teensy movement and camera system. I made it physics-based because I like when my character has a bit of inertia, a bit of girth to their movement. Put some real fucking meat on their bones. And that's what I did next. I modeled Kim Jong-un's meat, not, his skin, I didn't give him a penis. The modeling I'm doing here is low poly to high poly, which just means I modeled a simple version with a small number of polygons. And then I copy it and increase the mesh count by a ton and then sculpt in all the details. But a high poly sculpt like that isn't ideal for putting inside of a video game. I mean, some people do it because you kind of can now with tools like Unreal Engine's Nanite, but I use Unity to make my games. Chose the wrong team. Oopsie. So how do we keep the detail
16 times
while also keeping our model at a reasonable poly count? Well, you pull a dirty little trick. By baking the detail from the sculpt into a texture called a normal map and applying that to the low poly model, you can trick those extremely stupid and gullible gamers into believing that your model is much higher detail than it actually is. Ooh, tricked you, idiot! You got fucking tricked. But what is a normal map? How do they work? Oh, do you want me to explain fucking everything to you? Why don't you Google it? That's all I'm doing here, okay? And I'm probably wrong about half the shit I'm explaining to you. I'm not a professional 3D modeler or a professional at anything. I'm sorry, I'm being aggressive. I need to cool off. I need to tell you about Raycon. Look, your dad's had the same wired earbuds for like 8 years. He whips them out at the airport, at work. He sits there untangling the wires, not even embarrassed. Meanwhile, everyone around him is cackling at him behind his back. Help your dad, dude. Buy him a pair of Raycon Everyday earbuds for Father's Day. Cut the wire on the old ones because we know he hates new technology, but when he sees Raycon's 32-hour battery life and active noise cancellation and multi-point connectivity, he's gonna forget all about those old wired headphones. He might even forget about your mom. He's a new man after all. probably take his pick. And if you're still not sure if he'll love them, there's a 30-day happiness guarantee return policy, no questions asked. Raycon Everyday Earbuds come in a variety of colors, and they're affordable, coming in at just half the price of some of the other leading options out there. Personally, I love to use them while I'm mowing my lawn. I can get you 15% off site-wide at buyraycon.com/3bomb. Help out your dad, dude, and support the channel while you're doing it. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. After a short texturing session in Substance Painter, we finally had our pudgy little man, and we were almost ready to animate him. We just had to rig him up with bones and do some weight painting on him first. What is weight painting? Oh, someone wants to ask another question. I'm gonna ignore it. I knew with the animations I wanted things to feel very caricaturized and exaggerated, especially for Kim Jong-un. Try to give things a bit of a bounce, really squish the fella around a little. I'll probably do a second pass on these before I finish the game because I might think these are passable right now. But later on in development, I'm sure I'm gonna just, hate them a lot. Because as you make more and more things, you get better at it, and you take a look back at the older things that you made, and you say, hey, you were so delusional for ever thinking that was good at all. You shouldn't have been proud of that. You're telling me you were proud of it? Ew. Gross. But now you know better, and that's life, and that's learning, baby. I also incorporated IK into the animations. Now, what is IK? What I mean by IK, and what most people normally mean by inverse kinematics, is making your feet level with the surface that they're on as opposed to floating. I bought an asset for this, by the way, so if it impresses you, know that I didn't make it. My implementation looked like this. After writing up the logic to implement the animations, we could finally have it feel like our character was somewhat alive as we walk, run, jump, and bounce around the level. But what makes us feel more alive than anything? Well, for me, that would be the Konami Fortune Cup horse racing gambling machine in Las Vegas. You might recognize Konami from games like Metal Gear or Silent Hill, but what a lot of people don't know is they made a good game once, and that's the Konami Fortune Cup horse racing gambling machine. It features a miniature racetrack in the middle with miniature plastic horses for you and 9 other Social Security beneficiaries to bet on. And the races never stop. You just keep on playing until you have to go to the ATM. It's fucking incredible game design. So that's my answer. But another person's answer as to what makes them feel more alive than anything might be something like walking around the big city, which is also a good answer. It shows you never played the Konami Fortune Cup. And our game takes place in North Korea's capital city of their own, Pyongyang. Maybe surprisingly to some Westerners, it's actually a quite colorful city boasting several notable landmarks, like the Mansudae Monument, depicting the eternal leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, or the Tower of Juche with its beautiful riverfront location. Situated just beyond the tower is the Monument to the Party Founding, a shining beacon to workers, farmers, and intellectuals. Maybe the illustrious and most likely empty Ryugang Hotel is more your speed. Or perhaps you'll make a new friend at the Friendship Tower, a monument to the brave Chinese fighters who fought in the Korean War. It's located right up the road from the Arch of Triumph. Not the French one. This one's kind of almost exactly like the French one, but it's 33 feet taller, so, they win, I guess. Perhaps you're more of a bookworm. You could always make your way to the Grand People's Study House, situated just behind the Kim Il-sung Square, where all those very scary military parades take place. And speaking of impressive shows, we can't forget about the Rungrado Stadium, home to the Erang Mass Games. I've been meaning to get out there and see one of those. You can't go to them unless you're like communist adjacent country, and then you can go. So you kinda can go. You guys wanna go? Hell, there's even a theme park right across the street. And all of it is viewable from perhaps the most important monument of all, the Kamsusan Palace of the Sun. These are all places I designed blockouts of. Those blockouts sitting on top of a terrain that I generated from actual topographical data of Pyongyang. You can do that in Blender. It's pretty sweet. And after spending hours modeling blockouts and running around the level, it slowly dawned on me that this bitch too big. It's unmanageable. So I threw the terrain in the trash and a couple of the landmarks, and I repositioned the remaining landmarks to make for like more interesting sightlines. And then I sculpted my terrain around that. And after implementing this new version and navigating around, I got a much stronger sense of the identity of the map and what I can hopefully craft it into in the future. I think having a well-polished small map with verticality and discoverability will ultimately be better for the game. As I develop systems and maybe like fun traversal options, not giving anything away, those things will influence the map design as well. The map needs to complement the tools and systems available to the player. And with the new map blockout implemented, I was really starting to get a strong idea for the atmosphere and visual direction of the game. I had written a handful of shaders already to stylize it, things like dithering and outline effects. And I liked how that looked, but I wanted to give some attention to the actual environment visuals. I created a day-night system and I wrote shaders for things like fog and stars and clouds. And I made sure to give myself a wide range of parameters. I wanted to have a lot of control over the visual effects and color palette of the game. I can have it range anywhere from incredibly beautiful daytime and nighttime atmosphere, or an incredibly gloomy atmosphere with nights devoid of saturation or filtered maybe to only allow red. There's a lot of variety possible even with just these few parameters, but I'll definitely be adding more environmental effects. And that's because, you know, the most important thing for me is that the atmosphere of the world is directly tied to how the player chooses to engage with the world. Now you might notice that I'm taking the game kind of seriously. Ooh, you know, I haven't said fuck or yelled at the audience in a little while. Ah! And that's because at this point in development, I started viewing things differently. You know, the vision for the game in my mind became very clear in many ways. Behind the scenes of this goofy shitpost is the most robust game design document I've ever made. Just a shit ton of just manic plotting. Like, I know I make trash for the internet that doesn't need to exist, and I do enjoy operating in that space as an artist. But my goal is for my trash to have the capacity for a bit more. When I was 8 years old, playing the incredibly sick game, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, I noticed that the more evil you became, the more your character would appear cracked and threatening, and the background behind you would turn all red, and the more good you became, the inverse would happen. You would sort of tower over a bit more, you would look more confident, and the background would turn blue. And then years later, I picked up Fable 3, and I was reminded of this feeling again. In Fable, it was cranked up to the max. Your character's appearance would change, yeah, but also the world around you would change, kind of based on your morality. And seeing my actions as a player start to be reflected in the game art itself, that just fucking tickled my little timmies as a kid. The goal for KimSim is to make a goofy sandbox, yes, but I want your behavior in that goofy sandbox to influence the look and feel of the world. If you repeatedly engage with citizens in a way they disapprove of, the environment will change to reflect that. And the inverse is true. If you engage with citizens in ways that they appreciate, the environment will begin to reflect that. Capturing that feeling and really delivering on it is sort of one of the core pillars of the game. You know, I want a world that allows for real emotionally engaging moments of beauty, you know, or something that allows for introspection, maybe. Not to get all gay. Sorry for all that gay shit, type shit, dude. Beauty in the world was like pussy. Yo, can I get laid in this game, bro? Yo, I better be able to fuck chicks in this game, bro. I will refund it so fast. As for the citizens, I implemented a spawn and waypoint system for them. People with the same family name can be related to one another. Couples can have children. Right now, they only have a few behaviors. They can react negatively or positively to things. They can flee. They can walk up and down the sidewalks, and well, that's all they can do. But that's because most of the work has been on building the background system so I can layer behaviors on top of them. And I can show you that a bit easier if we look at the citizens on Kim Jong-un's in-game computer. I knew I needed a place where I could view a live map of the citizens and sort of view your information and do your micromanaging. Let me tell you, designing the UI, great time. I really enjoy doing that. I get to make it all pretty, draw my nice, cute little pictures. Oh, some tabs here. Ooh, some sliders over there. Oh, those look, I like that. Oh, I need some buttons. I need containers. Oh, need a whole bunch of icons. These icons, these icons. Xbox controller icons, PlayStation controller icons, have them all. I'll make, you know, take your pick. When I'm designing, you know, it's great. I don't have to worry about the poor soul that has to actually make it all work. Except in this case, that poor soul is also me. And programming the UI, not so fun, pal. Not a great time. Making it nudge and zoom and bounce and move smoothly and work properly on a keyboard and mouse and a gamepad, it's fucking a nightmare, dude. It's a goddamn nightmare. But we got it though. We got it. It feels good. It feels real good. Let me show you. I can filter the map in various ways depending on the information I'm looking for. If I click on any of them, I can see their attributes and traits. Their attributes are things like their opinion of you, how likely they are to gossip, their influence over others, and their susceptibility to propaganda. In the beginning of the game, most of this information is going to be unknown to you. You're going to have to gather it in various ways and through upgrading your information collection methods. But discovering and managing the information of citizens about their opinion of you and their other various traits and attributes, that's a big part of the gameplay loop. And the next big part is creating a fun and reactive sandbox to play in. And now that I've built the groundwork for some of these core systems, I can finally shift my focus to things like that. I want there to be a deeper layer of systems being influenced by your actions. That's important for providing an experience with depth. But I also think the gameplay should be enjoyable even if those systems maybe didn't exist. I should be able to hand the controller to my 4-year-old and he immediately finds playing in the sandbox to be fun without knowing about the deeper systems at play. And if letting my 4-year-old play this game alarms you, then you might have a different vision for the game than I do. You might be thinking along the lines of like Postal or GTA, but I'm aiming for something much more kind of like Bully. If you feel like supporting the project, you can wishlist it on Steam whenever that page is approved. It might be now, but it might not. It might not be, but it'll be up there eventually. I post progress updates on Patreon, so you can subscribe to that if you want to get sneak peeks of the project without having to wait on the next video. I design and handprint these shirts, so if you want something made by my own 2 hands, you can cop one of those. As always, thank you to my wonderful patrons. Bye!